In today's episode, we've got pneumatic boobs, kinky boots, desert landscapes, ripe dialogue, and deadly vixens. We're back to 1965 for Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill.
Wow. That's where we put the intro.
Yeah, intro goes in here. For the benefit of Dave's editing, the music comes in here.
Thanks.
Hello, we are the Problematic Gays. I'm Dr. Lee Arnott.
And I'm Dave Moore.
Each episode we'll take a piece of pop culture from yesteryear, asking ourselves the questions, could you get away with it today? And if not, why not? And what does that say about society and culture then and now?
And before we take a deep dive into our chosen topic, we'll take a delve into Culture Corner, just to see what was going on the cultural landscape, the pop charts, the film charts, etc., just to put our chosen topic, which today is Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill, into context. And that's about it. I kind of fucked that up towards the end, but never mind.
Do you know what I haven't done? What was the top 10 of cinema of that year?
Oh, never mind.
Fine.
Yeah.
We don't need to do it.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of other stuff to talk about.
We've done it. I mean, there's so much to get through today. Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill from 1965. Now, you may have heard of it. You may not have. Have you?
Yes. Yes. It's one of those films that's always been on my radar because it's quite influential in lots of other films and it's often referenced. Obviously, it gets bracketed with the Avengers quite a lot because similar women kicking arse, similar fashions in some respects. So the images of it are quite iconic, but I'd never seen it.
Right.
But I felt like I knew enough about it to have an opinion of it.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to see it. How about you?
I've known of it for years and years and years. Never seen it. We have watched it now before anyone said anything. But it was always one of those films where I just looked at it and thought, well, what is that going to give me? I don't know. I've heard all sorts about it being like really kind of exploitative of women. I've been ultra-violent and not heard enough of it to warrant a watch. But expectations can be reversed.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, really pleased we watched it.
So am I. Loved it. But before we get into it,
Yes.
would you like to tell us a bit about Faster Pussycat, ! Kill, ! Kill, !
I will. So, Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill is a 1965 exploitation film. Well, we'll discuss that.
We will.
Directed by Russ Meyer and co-written by Meyer and Jack Moran. It follows three go-go dancers who embark on a spree of kidnapping and murder in the California desert. The film is known for its violence, provocative gender roles, and eminently quotable dialogue. Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill was a commercial and critical failure upon its initial release. It was generally dismissed as an exploitative skin flick by the few critics who took any note of it at all. But it has since become widely regarded as a cult classic and influential film.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed. So why don't you tell us what happens in Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill, Dr. Lee?
I will. Three go-go dancers, Vala, Rosie and Billy, icons, every single one of them, cause chaos in the Californian desert. Within about 5 minutes, a drag race turns into a homicide, a kidnapping, and a masterclass in how not to de-escalate a situation. After brutally murdering a clean-cut American boy, Vala, statuesque leader of the three, decides the desert needs more chaos, so they haul their traumatized captive girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, the one who's died, around while delivering dialogue that would make Raymond Chandler pee himself. They soon collide with a reclusive old man, his vulnerable family, and a suspicious amount of money, at which point the film becomes a sun-bleached chess match played entirely with intimidation, betrayal, and aggressively arched eyebrows. Everyone postures, nobody communicates, and masculinity loses every single round. By the end, the desert has claimed its pound of flesh, and the moral lesson is do not mess the fuck with Vala. There's brutal fights, boobs, kinky boots, death, more boobs, and an unintentional feminist text is birthed. Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill.
I can see it's had an influence on you.
Yes. It bloody has.
Yes. Well, I have to say, some films you watch and it's exactly what it says on the tin. Other films you watch and you're completely blown away. It's a completely different thing to what you thought it would be. I really enjoyed it. I thought stylistically, directorially, it was great. It was campus Christmas. And the three female leads were just immediately cemented as goddess status in my eyes. The men in it, particular one, which we'll talk about, got me all a little bit hot under the collar.
Hot in here.
It was ultra violent.
Yes.
Unapologetically so.
Yes.
But then, that's all I'll say about it at the moment.
Yeah. So today it's very much viewed as a kind of cult classic, but still controversial and is argued over. Is it a feminist movie? Is it an exploitation movie? Is it both? Is it possible to be both at the same time? But it often ends up on film school syllabi, especially if you're studying things like exploitation, gender, auteur directors. It's often in museum retrospectives or film, it's special screenings of, because it's achieved this kind of cult classic. I wouldn't say it was a seminal movie, but it was certainly something that not long after it was released, because as you say, it was a commercial and critical failure, but in the 70s especially, it started to get noticed, particularly by feminists, and then this debate about it has just increased. So it's now quite well respected. So
it should be said that this film was released in the same year as The Sound of Music.
yes.
So we can quickly understand what is going on in US cinema at both ends of the spectrum,
Yes.
really. Well, obviously, Sound of Music became on to be an iconic classic, where it says in the introduction, this was just wildly dismissed. So if you mention Faster Pussycat, Kill in 1965, people would have been like, what?
Yeah.
Well, just quickly forgotten.
Yes, and in Britain, it doesn't even get noticed at all.
No.
I don't even know it gets a release. There's no release date for it in Britain. So, yeah. Right. Interesting.
Ah.
Now, before that, should we give a little snapshot of what life was like in Britain in 1965, Dave?
Yes.
So that means we have to cross over to Culture Corner.
Won awards for this.
We did win awards for this.
Yeah. Okay, so after... Is it you first?
Me first, I think. Yeah.
Oh, go on then. Sorry, I bow to you.
After years of austerity... Is it you? I think it's you, actually.
Is it me?
Yeah, it is you.
Oh, we're good, aren't
We're
we?
good.
We're good.
Won awards for this.
Won awards for this. Okay. Okay, without notes, Your Honour.
Yeah.
After years of austerity, there was a sense of forward motion in the UK, that things were happening. Harold Wilson talked about the white heat of technology, and there was a sense that Britain was on the up. People believed that life would keep getting better slowly and steadily.
Yes, there's a real optimism at this time. And Harold Wilson, Prime Minister, he makes this famous speech because they believe that it's technology that's going to make Britain a great country again. So there's already conversations about how Britain is failing as a nation. Remember, empire was breaking up at this point. Unfortunately, there's no budget. So he makes this speech and it doesn't really kind of go anywhere. Unfortunately, and speaking of budgets, money is still tight for many people. Class boundaries are real and visible. British society is very much still bound by ideas of class. Your accent, the school you went to, your job shaped your entire life. Working class people often left school at 15 years old. Knowing your place is still very much an unspoken rule. There is social mobility up, but it's very difficult and only available to a few people. And it comes with pressure to conform within wider society. So you can imagine the impact the Beatles have, you know, with their Scouse accents. And this is when we start to get this breaking down. We talked about in our episode, I can't remember, we talked about received pronunciation and talking properly, you know.
Yes.
So this is this is when that's starting to loosen a little bit, you know. So it's no wonder they blew people's minds, the Beatles.
Yes, I mean, the class structure then was still rigid, and to jump from one to the other or to aspire to jump up was just really limited.
Yeah.
So I suppose the Beatles showed that actually you can come from a working class background and make something of yourself.
Yes. It was very easy to go down
Yeah.
class structure, not so easy to go up.
I see. So, yes, talking about working class, lots of people still lived in small houses and small flats that were often cold and drafty. Coal fires were still really common. And many homes didn't have central heating. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
You can't just pop the heating up. That's it.
Yeah, we didn't have central heating at all when I was a kid.
That's it. Not a lot of people could make a phone call. Phones were still fairly limited as well. And washing machine was a luxury in 1965.
Yeah.
You talked about earlier, didn't you, about your gran still going to wash houses and things.
Yeah, wash houses are still very common in cities where all the women would have a wash day and they'd take their laundry, and there's no kind of automatic machines, and there's no such laundromats are rare. They're very American. We don't really have them over here. And there's some great footage actually of a wash house in Liverpool where all the women are going, and they've got some new fancy pants automatic machines. But my gran had one of those things that had the hole in it that spun around in the middle. You know, the top load, you'd have to push the stick down. But she still also had a scraping board, for washing with. So
my gran had one of them, top loading spin washers.
Yes.
Well into the 2000s.
Yeah.
I think it's obviously because that's what she was used to.
Yes.
So life was physically harder than today. I'd say there's no electronic mowers that you can just leave running to mow your lawn, all that, no shark vacuums and all that kind of thing. So there was more walking, obviously.
Yeah.
Not huge amounts of people had cars, more manual work and more time spent doing basic tasks.
Yeah, it's time consuming having to do stuff manually, However, youth culture is hot, baby. London really did feel like it was the beginning of something new, the centre of something new. And groups like the Beatles, as we say, the Rolling Stones, the Who, really did feel part of something different. Fashion was becoming younger, cheaper, bolder. Now young people are able to express themselves in ways they hadn't been even 5 years before, to some extent, where you're still expected to dress like your parents. For younger people, 1965 could feel liberating, it could feel loud, it could feel a bit dangerous. For older people, it was often a bit scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prime example, Till Death Us Do Part.
Exactly.
Please refer back to our episode on Till Death Us Do Part, 'cause that really paints a picture of the old guard fading, trying to cling on, and the new youth explosion emerging.
Yeah.
So, yes, so despite all these advancements, authority was still really strong and visible. The police were trusted, but also feared. Homosexuality at this point was still illegal, and censorship was real. Swearing, nudity and sexual themes in popular culture, in films, TV, etc., they were all really tightly controlled at this point. So for all the advancements, there's still this authority clinging on to power.
Absolutely. But at the same time, people are beginning to question this and question this authority. And this is when the idea of the establishment starts to take hold, that actually who was running the country was pretty much an old boys club and weren't going to let that control go. Things like the Profumo affair, which has been 2 years earlier, things like the Kim Philby scandal have shown people that actually these guys at the top who are morally espousing, who are saying they're in control, might not be so fucking great at it after all. And we get the rise of satire, the birth of satirical television, which again 5 years earlier would have been unheard of. People openly taking the piss out of government and authority figures, which never happened before this point.
Yeah. And look how far we've come now, questioning government. I mean, who can say in the UK that we trust the government, regardless of what kind side of the political spectrum you're on? When the Conservatives were in, it was they were shockingly behaved. Now Labour are in, they're equally shocking, well, probably not equally, but it's starting to emerge. It's like, to rule an effective government, you have to show that you're strong and you're powerful and you're working for the people, but the opposite is the case, like you said, with the Philby affair and Profumo. So running alongside all this, post-war immigration is quietly reshaping Britain. So Caribbean and South Asian communities are growing, but also growing alongside it was the racism that they encountered. It was open and often socially accepted at this point. And housing and job discrimination were widespread against these new communities arriving in the UK. The country was becoming more diverse, but not everyone welcomed it. Not everyone welcomed it, and it was becoming more polarised as a result.
Yes, yeah. It was interesting. I was reading a book on the Windrush generation recently as part of research, and as a whole, people often talk about the racism, but they were also singled out little instances. I'm not apologising at all, but when white people were saying, actually, fuck off with your racism, So the Notting Hill riots, for example, in 1958, it is black people rioting because they're getting treated like shit, but there's a lot of white people fighting with them, and this is not apologising for the racism which was prevalent at the time, but like everything, it's not as clear cut, but undoubtedly racism is a big problem at this point, and you might not be allowed to live somewhere, you might get a job, if you've got a job you're less paid, and we all know the stories of the West Indian doctors and whoever end up working as bus conductors, because they're not allowed into any of these professions which are being cliqued closed. Yes, in culture we've got 2 TV channels. Well, hey, BBC and ITV, that's it. Almost everyone watches the same programmes. Cinema is important, but TV's increasingly becoming so.
Yes.
So that was the general culture. Now, this is a film which is very much about different kind of styles of womanhood.
Yes.
Do we have a look and think about what it was like to be a woman in 1965?
Yeah, as Madonna said, what it feels like for a girl.
Exactly. Most women, especially married ones, spend all day at home or going to the shop for your shopping and then back home.
Yeah, cooking and cleaning with, as we said, limited appliances, washing clothes by hand, or if you were lucky, a basic washing machine. Shopping for food often involved walking to markets or carrying heavy bags, and even as my mum used to do in the 80s, would walk with 3 kids, shopping bags, and go all the way down the high street because baked beans were a penny cheaper in this shop. So even 20 years later, well, even 10 years later in the 70s, was still this kind of this thrift, this, you've got to really stretch every penny, whereas, you just nip into a Starbucks for a latte these days, don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
So, there's all that going on. Even for working women, domestic responsibilities always assumed precedence. So even if you were going out for a job, your job was to come home, get tea on the table, clean house, etc., etc.
And that gender split is still really shit. Remember in COVID, lots of women complaining that their husband and them were at home all day, but the women were still expected to do all the housework. Come on, lads, do better.
Come on, lads.
Society places a huge importance on appearance for women. You've got to have your hair right, your makeup right, your clothes. To have those standards is not an option. You've got to adhere to them. Looking presentable as part of being a good woman, performing womanhood successfully. Wearing trousers or going bare-legged even could feel slightly rebellious. So the introduction of the miniskirt, which is this year, must have been mind-blowing. And again, must have been terrifying for the older generation. There were all these stories and footage of women in like Wolverhampton stuff going, it's disgusting, but terrifying. And we talked before about how short skirts on women were only ever used historically to represent a juvenile character. So when wearing a short skirt, you'd only ever see it in a play when she's supposed to, or on TV when she's supposed to represent someone who's under 16. So suddenly the skirts become sexy, mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. Now, if you're in the elite classes for women, it might have been slightly easier to break out of these normal gender norms because obviously having a huge amount of money in the bank really helps you being able to do what you want. But for the majority of women, jobs were very gendered. So women tended to have secretarial work, teaching, nursing, or shop work. In factories, women weren't allowed near the men's stuff. This is the man's job. This is the woman's job. Pay was much lower than men's, even for the same work. Thank goodness that's changed.
Gosh, God.
Marriage often meant leaving the job, no questions asked. You get married, then you stay at home and procreate.
Yep.
That's your job. Career ambitions beyond marriage and motherhood were possible but rare and often frowned upon. You're married, you've got kids.
Yeah.
You want a job as well.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Workplace harassment was common and largely ignored. I mean, as we said, look at the Carry On films. What's wrong with walking past a woman and giving a little cheeky pinch on the bum?
Yeah, tiny bit of fun, innit?
Tiny bit of fun.
Your arms fun. They like it.
Lighten up, darling.
Give us a smile.
Yeah.
Who said that recently? Oh, yeah, Donald Trump, the President of America. Yeah. Contraception was still very limited. The pill is new. It comes in 1961, but is rigorously restricted. Usually only married women are allowed it. Sexual activity outside marriage was taboo and risky. God, if you felt pregnant or if you fell wrong, as we used to say up north, then you have to have some dodgy abortion somewhere or carry the stigma of being a single mum. Women had little control over their reproductive choices. Dating guys is often structured around potential husbands and marriage prospects as opposed to personal desire, really. Yeah. Because, as you say, your job is to get married and have kids. So you've got to find the right husband for you.
I suppose, being an unmarried mother at this time of year was akin to the witch trials, being a witch.
Yeah.
Having to paint women as fallen and of low moral stance, etc. It's just another stick to beat women with.
It's interesting, though, in working class communities, there's no consensus on this.
Right.
Some families, they haven't got a problem with daughters who get pregnant and don't get married. Some families do. It's the middle classes who tend to be the arbiters of moral judgment and stuff, and the upper classes who see it mostly as shameful and sinful. So, the idea of a man and woman living together, not at this point, you dirty bastards.
And even more stigmatising, a white woman going out with a one of the new immigrants that we talked about, Caribbean people or South Asian people, men. Yes, very stigmatising.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, women could vote and own property, but decision-making in society was male-dominated. And we get the start of feminist ideas. They're beginning to circulate, but most women were unaware or excluded from it. Divorce was still difficult, expensive, and socially stigmatising as well. So just get a sense from all this that whatever you do as a woman, you're trapped or you're regarded with suspicion or you're judged morally for any decision you make, apart from going down this rigid path of getting married, having children, cleaning the house, maintaining a good home. It was just so rigid, wasn't it?
Yeah, and even the sexual revolution, which will come over the next couple of years, there's so many women now saying, it was fucking great for the blokes, now we've got an excuse just to fuck around, do what they want. But for women, they still get stigmatised for it, so,
So, coming into just watching Faster Pussycat kill, the women represented in that were the complete antithesis of everything we've just read. I mean, we'll talk more about it in depth later, but that's just a very, very clear difference to the women portrayed in this film as to the real life experiences of women in the UK we're talking about particularly.
Yeah. So should we have a look at what the top 10 biggest selling singles in the UK were in 1965? Because again, as you said, The Sound of Music is the number one film. And was the number one album as well. So should we have a look at what the top 10 was?
Okay, Confidence.
I think there's going to be some big hitters in this, actually. Shall I start us off?
Yeah, do it.
Number 10, Tom Jones. It's not unusual.
Oh.
Sorry, let me just get me knickers to throw at him.
Swing that pelvis,
Yeah.
Tom.
Oh.
So, sexuality in music was starting to emerge a lot more now, wasn't it? I mean, Elvis Elvis was around at this time as well.
Yeah, Elvis the pelvis.
Yeah.
I mean, his pelvis had shook
Yes.
America in the 50s. You know, that famous Ed Sullivan only shot him from the waist up.
Yeah.
So they couldn't see his gyrations.
Oh.
God.
I Got You, Babe. Yeah,
Oh,
that's the name of the song.
Thanks.
Yes, Sonny and Cher, extremely popular in
Yeah.
1965.
Shout out to Cher.
Shout
Still
out to
giving
Cher.
it jip.
Still giving it jip. I mean, what a legend, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. At number 8, the Rolling Stones with The Last Time. Again, you know, huge hit.
Huge.
Yeah.
And at number 7, Ticket to Ride, the Beatles. One of the Beatles' big 1965 hits there.
Number 6 is the Seekers with The Carnival Is Over.
Don't
know
know
it.
that one. We don't know everything. Okay, I'm Alive, the Hollies at number 5. Yeah.
Good. Elvis is at number 4 with Crying in the Chapel. What were you crying for, Elvis? Your weird relationship with your mum, perhaps, or your child bride?
Cutting. Okay, number 3, Help. That's what I say at the end of every podcast, don't I? The Beatles, great, fantastic song. That.
I mean,
Friday
obviously
Night.
not a patch on Bananarama's version, but,
No.
you know, you can't have everything, can you?
You can't have everything.
Yeah. And number 2, the Seekers again. I'll never find another you.
Oh,
And I won't, Dave.
no, you
I will
won't.
never find another you.
Don't you forget it.
Thanks for that.
Without me, you're nothing.
And here we go. Give us what the biggest selling single of the UK in 1965 was.
Well, we talk about 1965 being kind of, you know, the swinging 60s or full motion, etc. Progress, everything moving forward, leaving the old guard behind. So to reflect this, number 1 is Tears from Ken Dodd.
I mean, there we go. It just shows you, doesn't it? Despite all this stuff, as you say, swinging around, getting fabulous, Ken Dodd's number 1, the biggest selling single of the year. Well, there we are.
There we go.
So, should we cross over to the Californian desert,
Yes.
get our kinky boots on, pump our boobs up,
Yeah.
and let's discuss this film?
Yeah.
Yeah.